how is everything going? I feel like I haven't talked to you in forever.
70,000 years
Yeah,
perhaps.
like how is COVID in Florida?
I don't know. I don't go outside, in all honesty. I think I used to be able to count on two hands the number of times I actually left my apartment, but now I can count on both my hands and both my feet. So that's progress. But people are just, I don't know, people just do what they want to do. And with the diabetes, I'd rather just not take that additional risk if I don't have to, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. 100%.
So I just work out in my house.
Dude,
And fortunately, we have the setup.
yeah, your gym, I'm jealous of that.
I mean, it's just the barbell, and then we got creative. We found like a landmine attachment that you can put inside of a stack of plates. So we made it kind of work the best we had to, but at least we have a barbell and we have enough plates to do something. It's not a normal gym, but it's better than the alternative.
Yeah. And a barbell. Like, okay, I wish I could take you outside right now to show you what I have, but I literally have these water bottles filled with sand. And then I was like, oh, I wonder if I can find some sort of dumbbells or like a kettlebell. And then I haven't because where I am is so primitive. So I've just been working out with like a backpack and like shoving shit in it. And like,
I mean, but at the same time, you're putting the effort in, and you've got to get creative with it. And whether you got to get creative with it with putting stuff in a backpack, or whether you're like, hey, I'm gonna go get concrete and make myself dumbbells,
yeah.
or get myself like bricks and attach ropes to them and run them up a hill. Like, I mean, you got to put the work in,
Dude,
right?
I was like shoveling dirt the other day because I was like, well, that'll be a pretty good workout.
I mean, but think about back in the day, like before weightlifting was a thing. Think about how these kids would get really, really, really strong. They would
Yeah.
work on farms. They would shovel bales of hay into backs of trucks, and they would shovel like what you were doing. Like people did manual labor and they got really strong. So it's
Yeah.
still a thing. It's just no one talks about it.
I know. It's kind of nuts.
I mean,
So
but I
wait,
mean, you can always get your cardio in.
yeah, that's true. Except, you know what? I don't know if I talked to you before or after, but I was walking so much that I got an overuse injury and I was using crutches for a couple weeks.
Oh my God.
Because the land here isn't flat. It's like you're hiking. And I was like, well, I'll get 10,000 steps in every day. It was not a good idea.
Oh, so
Yeah.
then you were on crutches for a couple weeks, and then what did you do?
And then now I'm like taking it really easy. So maybe I'll get 3,000 steps in, but I'm just because I went from like getting like maybe 1,500 steps to like eight. I started at 8,000. I was like, oh, that'll be good. And then I worked my way up from 8,000 to 10,000. Yeah,
It could just be the terrain for you, honestly, too.
I think so.
So,
It's
wow, that's crazy. Because I get 8,000 just walking in a circle inside my apartment.
that's how do
So,
you have a treadmill,
yeah, I
right?
know it's right there. See, let's see. I think you might be able to see it. Can you see it? There it is.
Is this your living room? Dope.
No, this is my office, but I don't
Okay.
really use it as an office because, like, I don't know. I'm sitting on top of like a plastic container. Like that's my chair, so that should tell you everything.
Well, hey, I'm sitting on the floor right now, so we're good.
I mean, hey, again, we're showing that adaptations can be made during a time where you have to adapt. You will not be successful if you don't adapt to what circumstances you're in.
It's so true. I was thinking about that earlier, actually.
I mean, you've got to like with this. We were supposed to have our call. The blood sugar
Oh
went
my
low.
God.
Life happens. Like you got to roll with the punches and say, what can I do to make this better right now? And look, it all worked out. There was supposed to be a thunderstorm. Now it's gone.
Yeah. And the crazy, okay, so I didn't tell you this, but right before, like our initial call, when it was supposed to be scheduled, my blood sugar went low and I was like scrambling, trying to, I was like eating brown sugar. And then I like got in front of my computer and then it started raining and then it was just like one thing after another. And then you were like, my blood sugar is low.
Well, I will say I had Apple Jacks instead of brown sugar, so I'm
That's good.
very happy with my choice.
That
But
is good.
yeah, again, it's like remember the sequence. Like we were supposed to have our chat. It didn't happen. You were low. My call went too long. Then I go low. But I think that's just the thing for anybody listening that you have to be able to adapt like with the workouts, like with the lows. Your life is not going to be your life will be dictated by what's going on, but it's how you're going to respond to what's going on that's going to determine how successful you are in diabetes, exercise, nutrition, all that good stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I had a minor freak out too when I was trying to get shit set up, and Herman actually said, you just repeated kind of what he was saying. He's like, God, you got to calm down.
Just sometimes just stop and just breathe in really deep in your nose and just hold that breath for 7 seconds and then breathe it out real slow, and your whole parasympathetic nervous system chills out and you feel so much better.
That's such a good idea. I've never done that before.
Literally, you breathe in 4 seconds, you hold it for 7, you breathe out for 8. Do it like 2 or 3 times. The most glorious thing in terms of chilling your body out, because your body has to chill out.
Yeah. Huh. That's good. Where'd you learn that?
I don't know. I just read it somewhere like 3 or 4 years ago, and I've been doing it since. And it's one of those things you like read an article and something sounds interesting, but you're like, I'll never do that. No big deal. And then there's those random things you pick up because you read it once. It
Yeah.
was just one of those things that randomly just inserted itself into my life, but I cannot complain.
That's good. That's good. I'm going to try that.
You should,
Um,
especially given everything you're up against right now.
I
I feel
know.
like you're still stranded.
Dude, yeah. It's crazy. But okay, so wait, you leave your apartment every now and then, or are you like, do you go for walks?
We went for a walk last Sunday, I believe.
Okay. Where did you do
It
you
was
just
great. We went to this place called Bayshore. It's the longest continuous sidewalk in the world. It happens to be in Tampa.
yeah.
It's super, super nice. It's right on the water. And I decided that while we walked, I was going to get some vitamin D because vitamin D is really important. And I took my shirt off for 25 minutes, came back totally, totally scorched, like
Really?
a rotisserie chicken. Oh, it was terrible. It was so bad. The aloe was very, very, very like strong for about 4 days, and now I'm fine. But it was like, when you're red to the, like, you see the red and you feel it and you're warm to the touch. It was one of those.
That's horrible. Yeah, I
You
that
can't
happened to
relate
me
though.
last year, and I poured vinegar. I had a vinegar bath.
Why vinegar?
Apparently it's supposed to help with a sunburn. I don't know. It's like a really old
So this,
school.
that's gonna be one of those facts that I hear it once, and then I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, vinegar. And I'm gonna try it. This is the best thing ever.
Yeah, it doesn't smell good though.
I mean, I smell like a salad. So
Yeah,
there are worse things.
that's true.
That's that's crazy though. So like, oh, you go to Walgreens. Oh, I couldn't find any aloe, but don't worry, I found vinegar instead.
Yeah, like white. I think I used the white vinegar.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Not apple cider vinegar,
No,
the magical
I,
cure-all
I
for
didn't use
everything.
that one.
And if you did it have the mother in it? Is the other question.
The mother. It did.
It did have the mother?
My mother?
No, no,
Oh.
apple cider vinegar. It says apple cider vinegar with the mother.
Oh no.
And
What
I'm
is the
always like,
mother?
what is the mother?
I
Exactly. I
was
want
just
to know
gonna
what the
say because
mother is.
I was gonna say when I did this vinegar thing, my mom was the one that told me to do it, so it had the mother in it, but not.
Oh, not in the way I was. No, I don't know. I've always wanted to know what the mother is. So
Huh.
for the people that listen, hopefully somebody can identify what the mother is and they can report back.
I've never even noticed that before. That's so funny.
I probably pay attention too much, but it's just, I don't know. It's interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Man, see, you go. You're about to say something.
No, I'm trying to think of like what it must be like in Florida when because Amelia's working, so you're at home, and then like,
I
are
work
people just
and
nuts
I
there?
mean, every night outside of our building, I hear somebody at like 12, 1, 2 sometimes, and they're at any day of the week, and they're just super loud doing their thing, which, I mean, if that's what you want to do, by all means, go for it.
Yeah.
I just don't know how people do it. But it's just a very strange time. I feel like you have this awesome view because you're outside of all this. You get to look at everything from this like third person like perspective. Whereas if you're in it, you don't necessarily, you miss certain things.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me.
I know. Do you think you guys are going to stay in Florida, or I hear it like I'm not so many people, but I feel like so many people that I hear about are leaving LA, and I'm not even in
I,
LA right now, but
you're not even in LA to leave LA.
I
No,
know.
I mean, I have no intention of leaving Florida. I
No.
love Florida. I Yeah, I really can't picture myself living anywhere else right now. It's just I don't know. I like the beach. I like the weather.
Yeah.
when the people aren't being derpy, they're usually pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I can't say I'm mad about it. But are you going to leave LA when you actually get to return, or are you just going to become
I
a
don't know.
permanent citizen of Central America?
I don't know. I would love to move here. Kinda. Like
Do it.
it's on my mind. I don't know if Herman would like to. Well, his work is in LA, but we've talked about maybe leaving LA. Um, I just don't know when it would happen.
Where would you go besides where you're at right now?
Well, there's so many things that we've been thinking about, and everything's like up in the air. So if we left LA, there's a possibility of maybe going to Arizona for a bit
Florida.
and then
Oh,
coming here.
I thought you said Florida. You were
I
about
was
to say
just
it. And
about to, but it's because we were just talking about Florida.
oh no, I was like, that's the move right there. She's coming to Florida. You can become our neighbor. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Real talk though, one place that's interesting to me is Puerto Rico because their income taxes are super low. It's like 4%.
I heard about that actually.
But then it's like, do you want to live there when the hurricanes show up every single year and they always seem to go near Puerto Rico?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, but I think if y'all came to Florida, I wouldn't be mad about that. I'm sure Amelia would lobby for that too.
I've never been to Florida. I've always wanted to go and visit.
Well, once there's no COVID, definitely go, and then you'll fall in love. And I mean, Arizona's great if you like 115 degrees.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to just come to Costa Rica. Like I would if yeah, I don't know.
How does that work, like for what you're doing business wise?
Here?
Yeah,
Well,
like are
now
you considered still a U.S. company then if you move there?
I think so. I'm pretty sure. I don't know how that works. I think so. I think like wherever your business is registered because yeah, there's so many things. And I honestly, there's nowhere that I feel is home. Like when I think of a home base, I just like, I don't know. I feel like there's no forever. I'm just going to be happy like wherever I can be.
You're a nomad.
That's
You're
what I
just gonna
feel
go
like.
travel. You
Yeah.
should. I mean, you should have while you can for sure. I
Yeah.
feel like this is the time to do it. And if you're gonna be stuck, you're stuck in paradise from what I can tell. I mean, look
Yeah.
behind you.
It's pretty nice, but it's going to be like, it's crazy to think I'm going to be here so long. And I don't know when I think the hard part is not knowing like when things are going to change.
I don't think, yeah, and nobody knows when it's gonna change,
Yeah.
especially for the U.S., which is the crazy part to me. And then you've been there for what is it, 5 months now?
February, so 6 months.
Oh my
My
God.
yeah, my flights canceled until November. So I was thinking about looking at other airlines, but nothing's flying out until September 20th. And I haven't switched my flight cuz I'm like if I switch it and then I have layovers like right now my flight goes from San Jose to LAX just one straight shoot and I'm like if I switch it and then I'm in the same position and they keep canceling it, that would suck.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's rough.
yeah.
That's so rough. I never even thought about that. You'd be stuck there till November.
Dude. What's
How are you gonna survive?
Yeah.
That's literally the craziest thing. So you've had to adapt and adapt and adapt and adapt again for everything. I mean, diabetes wise, it's still a pain to get all the Dexcom stuff.
That, I mean, I've been resetting my sensors. It hasn't been too bad. I actually found this company in Miami that sends the shit that I need here. So I have Dexcom send it to them and then they send it to me and it gets here within a week.
Oh, wow.
It's like
That's fast.
it's some privately owned company. So, yeah,
That's awesome.
it's so much better. So I'm not stressed
And
about that anymore.
when you reset, what is your
Or
method of
restart.
resetting or
Okay,
restart? You know what I
so
mean?
yeah, I think I said reset, but so I take it out. I take out the transmitter and then I set a timer for 15 minutes. I don't know if you have to. And then I delete the Bluetooth and then
Oh,
I put and then it's asked to pair the transmitter. So then after 15 minutes I pair it and then I start a new sensor using the same code.
gotcha.
It's
Okay. I was gonna say the one step I don't do is the Bluetooth. I do
okay.
the same thing. I just don't do the Bluetooth part because honestly, I would probably forget how to repair it again.
Maybe you don't have
So,
to. I think I've heard because I've shared like my the way that I've been doing it, and some people have said that they haven't had to do that. So
I mean, it's worth a shot. You never know. Although, I guess at the same time, it's such a premium with what you've got right now. I don't know if it's worth the risk. But I don't think you'd have to do the Bluetooth part.
yeah, maybe next time I'll try it without. Do you
There's a
get?
way to do it where you don't have to pop it out, but you still do the Bluetooth. So
Hmm.
that's, I think, what it is. I think you're kind of like combining both methods, whereas
Yeah.
you may not have to. But the one without the Bluetooth, I think you have to wait like 30 minutes or something. Or where you get rid of the Bluetooth, you have to wait for 30 minutes or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna try your way
I
next
don't
time.
know for sure.
Does it work really
I
well
mean,
for
it's
you?
just, it seems to. I mean,
Yeah.
it'll at least restart, and then I might get, I mean, I don't know if you get another whole 10 days out of it, but I usually get another like 3, 4 days, and then 14 days or 13 days is better than 10.
That's
So
still good.
I'm not mad about it.
No.
I
That's
had I had three go bad in 90 minutes a couple weeks ago.
really they just
Literally, I they just didn't work. I put one in. It went to do the what is the warm up period.
yeah.
It got about 2/3 through, said error, fail, replace. And so I was like, okay. So I called them up while and I put the second one on. You have to wait on hold or whatever. So
Mhm.
I was sitting on the hold. Finally get a hold of somebody. I'm talking to them, explaining what happened the first time. Because when I took it off, there was some blood underneath it. And then as the second one was started up and I was on the phone with the person, the second one died. So I'm like, oh, actually, my second one just died while we're sitting here. So then they're like, okay, we'll replace these two. And so I went to go put a third one in while I was on the phone. And then at this point, they transferred me over because for some reason, Tandem and Dexcom had a thing. So I had to go through Tandem. And so I'm on the phone with Tandem explaining that I needed two sensors replaced. And then the third one died while I was on the phone with them. I'm like, this is getting ridiculous. So they sent three. But I went through an entire box in 90 minutes and it never worked. It was so frustrating.
That is so frustrating.
I
But
was so mad.
you had another box on hand?
I did. Thank
Okay.
God. I had like one other box. I was like, oh, that was close. That was
Yeah.
very close.
That is
Well, in your case, I can't imagine. You go through a whole box. That could be it for a while.
yeah. Well, it's been crazy and the crazy thing is my mom's neighbor, it turns out he has type 1. So
Oh,
like what are the chances, right? So anytime I'm like in a really pickle situation, I just call him and he's like he usually has something and vice versa, which is nice, but
that's awesome though. Because I feel like the odds of that are minuscule given that you didn't you say you're in a pretty rural area?
yes, very rural.
Oh my God. The odds
It's
of that.
crazy. I know.
That's actually nuts. Like there's people that I know, like I talked to someone earlier today and she didn't know anyone who had diabetes and she was in her 30s and lives in California. And then you go to Costa Rica and there's like three people in your general vicinity and one of them has diabetes. That's such
It's
craziness.
it's nuts. It was like right when the time when I got here when like my pump broke and then my Dexcom stopped working, my it was having I was having so many issues and that's when I like ran into him. I'm like, what are the chances? It was just meant to be.
For real though, the universe works in crazy ways sometimes.
Yeah,
Although I'm still waiting to find out like why the universe wanted you to live there for 8 months,
I know.
except for the fact that like maybe you'll end up moving there permanently and I don't know, becoming a wilderness guide or something. You could totally, what you should totally do. Okay, you ready for this? Because obviously you're learning the terrain. You should totally do something for people with type 1 down there. Like once this whole COVID thing's done, like host some sort of like Taja event where it's like diabetes and you're in the wilderness and the jungle and all that. And like, I don't have it any further than that planned out, but that's just a thought that occurred to me. That could be really, really cool.
Yeah,
You know? I
it
feel like
could.
there's a bunch of cool stuff to do.
There totally is. It's a cool place, definitely. I feel like, I mean, it's so well. It kind of reminds me of when I was a kid. So I almost feel like being here has been a healing time in some weird way because it's like just taking me back to all these memories when I was growing up because I lived like on a farm in the middle of nowhere. So
Dang. So now you're like back transported and you're like, oh, I feel like you're like reverse aging like that one movie, right? You're like, I feel like I'm 18.
yeah, I don't know that movie. That's
What
pretty
is
much
it?
it.
Benjamin Button. That's the movie.
What about what's that other Groundhog Day? Do you ever
Oh,
just you don't know what day it is right now?
yes. I do know what day it is right now, but that's only because like this week was just crazy, and so I was like, oh, finally it's a Saturday. But otherwise, no. Groundhog Day is how I felt the first probably 3/4 of what this quarantine was. Like I had no idea what day it was. I knew I was in the same place every single time doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I feel like that's just a constant thing. And I feel like it's also weird because people call this quarantine still, but it's like, are we really in quarantine anymore? Are we not in quarantine? And no one ever did a final designation of quarantine is over, you know?
Yeah. It's crazy. And Matt, you have to wear masks where you are, right?
Oh, yeah. You
Yeah.
can't go into anywhere without a mask on. My brother works at a university around here, and he didn't remember a mask one day. And I don't know if they gave him like a t-shirt or something, but he had like this crazy contraption. It was hilarious. It was
Really?
absolutely hilarious. I'm like, yeah, because they you like have to have something covering your nose and your mouth everywhere.
You
Even
could
at
you
the
just
doctor, they were like, yeah,
That's
you
nuts.
you can't do like anything.
I mean, it makes
Like
sense,
I
but
I mean I don't mind it. I think it's probably good for right now.
mhm.
But at the same time, I still feel like we're living in a sci-fi movie. Every time I wake up, I'm like, is this actually life right now? Can I just go out and hang out with all the people? Nope, not supposed to unless I'm 6 feet apart.
Yeah, have you seen any friends or are you guys just
Oh,
hunkering down?
we've hunkered down. I don't think I've been social in like 5 months outside of virtual events like this one.
Yeah. I
It's
know it's so
kind
good
of
to
nut.
see a human.
I know. I was like, when was the last time I saw Tasha? I was like, oh yeah, it was like over a year ago.
That's so crazy. And
Literally.
when was it? I feel like it was this time when I saw you last year and you were talking about getting ready to go to Europe, which when did you guys leave?
Yes.
Was that almost a year ago?
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday. We went to Europe last October.
Wow.
So, I mean, yeah, so we were planning the trip when I saw you because I saw you last year in July. And then we were planning Europe, which was still insane. I'm so glad that that happened. We were going to go back potentially, but then, of course, this might be the first, instead, this is going to be the first year, more than likely, of my entire adult life that I did not fly on an airplane.
Wow. That's crazy. And I
Right. I
wonder,
mean, you knew how much I traveled
yeah,
last year.
you went a lot of places, including LA.
Yeah. Yes. Twice last year to LA
Are the
because we did
gym?
that meetup thing.
Yeah, that's right. You were there twice. That's crazy. Are the gyms open where you are?
In Florida, yes, but depending where you are in the US, the answer depends.
Okay.
I've like there are some places I don't think New York's open. I think Massachusetts might have shut them down again. Like there are places shutting down again, which is scary.
Yeah, that is scary.
So I know we have them open, but I have not stepped foot in one since March.
Yeah.
So that's why we have that set up, and we've been slowly adding stuff. Like we like got one of those. We got like a bench off Amazon. We got one of those boxes that you can like, I don't know. I guess you can jump on them, but I
Hmm.
don't really know why you'd want to. You know what I'm talking about
Yeah.
though. Like one of those things. Like we're slowly building up the collection. So hopefully we'll just need like a squat rack. But then again, it's like where are we gonna put a squat rack in a tiny little apartment?
I'm sure you can find a
So
corner somewhere.
I don't know. And then you gotta bolt it down. That sounds like a
Yeah,
lot of work.
that's true.
But either way, like I mean, at least we have something. And I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, like when we started, we had because I had to get these weights for my family. I had them when I was a kid, but before we got them, all we had was a couple kettlebells and a couple dumbbells and some bands. And so it felt a lot like when you were describing you're filling up a backpack and filling up water bottles with sand. Like
Yeah.
we don't even have the sand to fill up the water bottles with. We
Yeah.
would have had to fill them with water.
Yeah. It's so crazy. And it's crazy to think like how it's just all about adapting, which,
Literally.
yeah.
Everything's about just how you're going to adapt. And then food wise, because the activity is different, you have to think about how your food's going to be different in terms of your body composition and then blood sugars too. So I know,
Yeah.
like, from a step perspective, I've actually gotten more steps per day during this time than I did before when
Yeah.
the world was normal, which
That's
is kind of weird to think about.
what are have you how has your diet changed?
I mean, nutritionally, it really hasn't changed
Yeah.
that much. It's just I don't eat out. I just eat only at home. I have not had a meal. I have not been social or had a meal outside of the home since early March.
Yeah. Same, I
I mean,
think.
is there, I was saying, I don't think there's restaurants that are near you, are there?
There's ones that I mean, we can drive to restaurants, but there's just no point really.
Yeah. It's like I just don't, and maybe I'm paranoid. Like everybody I know is getting taken or they're like going and driving up and or drive-throughs and stuff like that. And I don't see the appeal of it because I don't know who made the food. So I
Yeah.
just would rather not mess with it until someone declares this thing is over with. But the one positive thing is football wise, the NFL is testing everybody like every single day, and their rate for everyone is like 0.5% or something. It's a very small number of positives. So I'm hoping that that's more reflective of the real population
Yeah.
and like the regular population. And so hopefully that means this thing's starting to come down,
That
which
would
would
be really
be glorious.
yeah, cuz I even like New York's gone down, right, with their cases.
I
Is that
think so. I think everyone's trending down right now, but everyone's also cautiously optimistic
mm,
because people have said the ripple effects of this in terms of people not wanting to be in crowds or be social is probably going to last for a couple years, which is also crazy to think about.
yeah,
So,
I was thinking about that too, especially when you're talking about football, because I'm like, once things go back to normal, are people gonna just, are they still gonna be kind of fearful or cautious, or, are you gonna wear a mask? Or like here, every time we go grocery shopping, we'll sterilize everything. Like we'll wash the containers, and it's like, at what point, even when things go back to normal, am I gonna be like, oh, I'm so used to doing this one way now?
I mean, real talk, I've always thought like how like you bring your phone everywhere, like when you're wearing a pump, your pump goes everywhere.
Yeah.
I've always thought, even before all this, like it's probably a good idea to sterilize your stuff periodically because there's a lot of nasty stuff out there, like germs and viruses and all that. But with this, I don't know. I think for football, it's going to depend on what side of the fence you're on. Are you going to be like the people that I hear at 1 a.m. hooping and hollering outside, who are with a bunch of people anyway who don't care? And they're not probably going to have any issue assimilating back into regular life. Or are you going to have the people that are, no, I'm staying at home, I refuse like to be out in public or social? They're probably gonna be the last people. It's gonna be just like I don't remember the name of the curve, but you know how there's like the early adopters of technology and the people that like adopted a little later and the people that are like super late to the party.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the same thing. It's gonna be the exact same thing when we come back to normal. There's gonna be people that are like everything's normal. Then there's gonna be the people that kind of are like, I'm gonna wait a little bit. Now I'm gonna go because everybody else is starting to. Then the people that are gonna be like, I'm waiting till the government or somebody officially announces it worldwide. And then you'll have the people that are like going to be extra paranoid in their
Mm-hmm.
bunker and then finally wake up like 2 years later and be like, oh, yeah, it's been normal for a couple years. I think I'm okay now.
Yeah.
So
And then
I
you
don't know
have
where
the
I'm on that spectrum.
yeah, and then you have the people that just are going about as if everything's normal. They're like, doesn't matter, like not gonna not live my life. But do you have those people? You must have those people there because we have them here.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they had the clubs and the bars open pretty quickly here, and people were going.
Yeah.
And then I think they closed all the bars. I don't think they've opened them since. But then all they're doing by closing the bars, and maybe they opened them. I don't know. I don't pay attention honestly because I don't go. But then you just have people encouraged to go to house parties or like other gatherings where they're still going to be in close proximity. So I think there's going to be people that don't care. There's going to be people that care a ton, and there's going to be people that there's really no in between. It's kind of like you're one or the other.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just over here just waiting for everything to chill, and then who knows with like the media pushing it, is it actually that? Like I don't know who to believe anymore, so I just
Yeah.
kind of am like I'm gonna just wash my hands a lot and wear a mask and avoid people that are not being responsible.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'm exactly the same at this point. I'm like, it's better to be safe than sorry, even if we don't know.
Well, and arguably too, I guess what's weird is in the past, like if someone had like a cold or something, you wouldn't even think about it. Like you go on an airplane, it's like, oh, it's flu season and you're on an airplane. You're not thinking about, do I need a mask? What if this person's sneezing? There's someone next to me and they're whatever. I would sometimes be like, I mean, I don't know. I've just always been really aware of like people that are sneezing or coughing or sound like they're sick, but that's just from the diabetes standpoint. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, you go on an airplane in January normally, you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about where you're going. You're
Yeah.
thinking about what you're going to do when you get there. And now you go on an airplane, it's like, is there someone in the middle seat? Is there someone in the row behind me? Do I have my mask? Do I have my sanitizer? It sounds stressful. Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
even want to travel just from the stress of having to prepare. Like you go in a hotel room. How do you know the hotel room's
Oh
clean? Do you
God.
know it's actually clean? Did they sterilize it? Is there new shit? Like it doesn't sound appealing to me. Like at that point, I'd rather just stay in my house and say, at least I know, you
Yeah.
know?
No, that makes sense. I honestly, as much as it would be nice, I mean, I love being here, but I don't know how long you can do long distance. So at some point, I do need to get back to LA. But the thought of traveling is what stresses me out, especially having layovers. If I don't have a layover, that's fine. But that, and then wearing a mask too, because I can't breathe through them, that stresses me out
Oh, yeah.
for hours.
Well, and there's gyms that require you to wear a mask, and it's like I can't imagine you're doing a bunch of squats and you're wearing a mask. How are you gonna breathe? It's like wearing one of those like high altitude training masks to try to simulate what it's like at 5,000 feet of
Yeah,
elevation,
you
and now
just
you're just wearing a mask because you have to.
you just pass out at some point.
Right. I have no interest in doing that, but either way, like what you're describing, you're gonna be on a long flight. That's a lot of recycled air. Like I wouldn't be something I'm necessarily looking forward to. I will say I know people that have flown and they've been totally fine.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that it's probably fine. And there's parts of me that just wake up like I'm just gonna go do something fun, just like normal life. And then I realize it's like it's still not normal.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just I guess the best you can really do is just do all you can control is yourself. You can control what you're doing, you can control how you're responding, and you can do your best to avoid situations that would put you at risk. And that's really all you can really do. And take zinc because zinc
Yeah.
is supposed to block replicating of the virus.
So that's what supplements are you taking right now?
I've taken zinc forever. I've always had all my clients take zinc. I take zinc because it improves immune function regardless. So I figured during this time especially it's important, but even before this for years, I've probably been on zinc for almost 10 years now every day. Zinc is just huge. And there were papers that were showing that in previous coronavirus strains, zinc blocked the ability of the virus to replicate itself.
Hmm.
So if it gets into your body, if it can't replicate, it's not going to take over the host, which is you. So zinc, I would say, is by far number one. I've heard things about vitamin D. Like I just take it because I don't go in the suns. Otherwise, I mean, I'm like transparent. You see me, so I need it anyway. But I mean, beyond that, there's nothing specifically for the virus. I would just that's just what I take anyway, honestly.
Yeah.
So I've just continued it. But I mean, anyone that's like, oh, this is like the perfect elixir to fix it, no, none of that shit exists.
Yeah. Like what is that that everyone's taking that like that people are dying from?
Oh, what is it? I don't know. Is it what you mean like the drug that they're
Hydroxychloroquine.
hydroxychloroquine? I don't know what the deal is with that. All I know is somebody once I saw on Twitter early on when they announced that it might be a potential cure, somebody ate it, but it wasn't in actual form meant for consumption.
Mm.
It was like fish aquarium, like the stuff you put on the bottom of an aquarium for fish,
Yeah.
and they ended up eating that because they thought it was good for them and they died.
Oh
And I was
God.
just like, that's I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know how to feel about it. Like I feel really bad, but at the same time, you probably shouldn't eat things that go inside of aquarium. You know,
That's the
like it.
truth.
Oh, it's like
That's
don't eat things that are not meant for people to eat.
yeah.
Like I have a football here. I'm not gonna eat this football. Like even if
No.
I'm really hungry, I'm not gonna eat it. Like oh
Yeah. It's crap. I mean,
yeah.
I think that maybe the fear is just like one thing that people can't can't control fully.
Well, and I wonder how much fear is even left because I feel like when it all began, there was this like huge fear and this really big like focus on it, and that was all anyone could talk about or think about. But I feel like as time's gone on, just like anything else, not that the attention span is split, but the intensity of it as you're exposed again and again, it's like anything else you're afraid of. The more you get exposed, the less the fear exists, and so I feel like the curve has kind of gone down
Yeah.
and in terms of just actual fear and concern. And so that's why you have a lot of people that may have paid attention early on who aren't, they don't care as much. They're like, well, I've heard about it every day for the last 6 months or 5 months or however long it's been. Why am I paying so much attention to it? It clearly hasn't got me yet, which that can be good from a confidence standpoint. So I mean, there have been studies that show that people who are chronically stressed and chronically living in fear first, live shorter lives, but second off, get sick a lot more easily. But beyond that, I don't know. It's just I feel like people aren't they're desensitized to it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, which is explains why so many people are and so many people are over it. They're like, I just it's been five
Exactly.
months, like get me the fuck out of where I am.
Well, that and then there was a thing I don't know if you saw in the diabetes community that got passed around. That was a paper out of Italy where it showed that people with type 1 have some sort of, I believe it's a T cell or something, some sort of difference in their immune response compared to people without type 1 that actually might be protective against the virus.
Really? I didn't read that.
Yeah, there's like a balance between, I think it's called Th1 and Th2, and for whatever reason we're tipped in favor. I believe it was Th1,
Huh.
which makes us more protected against it. I don't know if it has any legitimacy at all. I just know I've heard of it. I've heard of people with type 1 getting it,
Yeah.
but I think maybe the potential of getting it might be a little smaller. But at the same time, you also hear people saying, well, if you have diabetes, you're more likely to get it, period. So it's like, who
Yeah.
do you believe at that point? So then people are like, I'm just over it, screw it, whatever. I'm just going to wash my hands and live my life, and that's really to a degree all you can do.
Yeah.
But you're fortunate. I mean, you live far away enough from people that you're not coming into contact with too many anyway.
Literally, yeah. But in because it's such a small town too, I think there's probably been like 8 cases, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for how small it is where I am, it kind of is. But immediately when someone has it, they take them somewhere and I don't know. But then I think there's so many undocumented cases too, especially living somewhere here where there's so much poverty and like I am in a third world country, so there's probably
Yeah.
people in the mountains that have it and just I don't know, right?
I mean, and that's the crazy thing. Then you also have the people that are asymptomatic.
Yeah.
So, or you have the people that have very mild symptoms that aren't full blown. So you don't know, is this actually COVID? Is this just, oh, I have the sniffles today? And then is it actually going to be a big deal or what? And no, it's just, it's very interesting. I know with here, like with schools opening up, and then like supposedly there's pro sports seasons that are kind of starting again and kind of not. Like, and then college football got canceled in some conferences. So it's there's all sorts of debates about what's going on and what's safe and what's not. And it's just like I have no control over what happens. So I just kind of see what's going on and just live my life and kind of just stay in my lane and just my goal is just helping more diabetes people, right?
Yeah, which
So
is
that's
so
all.
needed right now, I think,
Oh, for
for a lot
sure.
of
Well,
people.
because the burnout's so real because you're stuck inside, and like you said, Groundhog Day before, you're stuck inside doing the same thing again and again and again, and you're like, great. The last thing I want to do is look at my Dexcom or look at my blood sugar and deal with it again. I just want to live life like normal.
Yeah.
So, and now there's no distractions. Now you're extra paying attention to your phone or extra paying attention to your pump or every vibrate or beep or whatever else.
Yeah. So is that why you put together Blood Sugar Boss? Was it during this time?
I did put it together when I think it started in mid-July, and we have an awesome first group that's in it right now, but I put it together because I figured it'll help more people and it'll get them to know what they actually need. And again, like you said, during this time there is still other things that are outside that you can focus on, but there's a lot fewer outside distractions. So why not spend this time right now? You're already limited in your options and limited in what you can do, doubling down on your diabetes and your health. You come out of this way healthier, way further ahead, and feeling a lot better. So your blood sugars are in total control. And then ideally, as long as they follow the directions, your metabolism's kick started up, you're stronger, you're feeling better. No situation with diabetes really can inflict any sort of concern in you. And if you're more confident, then you're winning.
Yeah.
And
And you
even like I
feel
said
better.
before, that study, well, yeah, you're feeling better and that confidence, like the people that are more confident live longer lives and live happier, healthier lives. So if you have a better quality of life with diabetes, that's all I really want for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So it
That's so
seems like so far it's been really solid.
that's exciting. That's cool.
I mean, it's definitely, I think the best thing is just being able to see when the light bulbs, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When somebody gets that light bulb and it goes off, when it's like, let's talk about, for example, like how fat can affect your blood sugar. And then suddenly someone gets it and they're like, holy cow, this is what I have to do from now on. And it just clicks. There's no better feeling in the whole wide
Yeah.
world. to see that, because then
Yeah.
like they're gonna get it and they're gonna do it forever.
Yeah. And it's like you're the one providing all the information, but at the end of the day, it's like once they realize that they've got it and they can do it themselves, that's like so empowering.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, and that's just the beauty of it. But at the same time, like I know it's a way where if I can reach more people and help them with diabetes live that better life and live more confidently and love what they're doing and just not focus on it as often, then that's all I really want. So that's why I figured it's another option for people instead of like, oh, we're gonna do one-on-one or something else. I figured, hey, if there's options, people like options. You know, it's like you
Yeah.
don't go just look at like one car. You look at three cars and then you buy a car.
Yeah.
So you know exactly what I mean.
Yeah. It's true. What
So
did you were you always the like did you always care about your blood sugars? Like at what point were you like, "Hey, I'm going to start paying attention to
that's a
my
really
blood?"
good question. Um, I mean, I feel like I always paid attention. I remember vividly when I was 8 years old, I was probably like 9 months into diabetes, and I did not care. I was like, I'm over this. This was cute. I'm done. But also back then, like meters were the size of like a brick,
Yeah.
so it was a little bit different story. But I feel like I didn't really embrace it honestly until my sophomore year of college, because
Yeah.
that's when I started learning about that. There was a thing that does like your estimated average glucose and turns it into an estimated A1C. And I started realizing I was like, I really want to be at that point. I don't think I had been under 7 ever. And if I had it, it was once. And I really was like, I want to get under 7. And so I really focused on it and it happened. I was like, this is really cool.
Yeah.
And so that was the point where it finally clicked, like the food side of it clicked and the dosing side of it clicked and it all started to click. But before that, nah. I it was there. It was something I dealt with, but it was more of a nuisance that was a part of my life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Were you diagnosed when you were 9 or 8? 7.
7.
7. Okay.
My diversary. What's today's date?
It is
Today's
the
this.
15th, I think. Is it the 16th?
It's the 15th.
Okay.
Yeah, I just checked. So my diversary is in 8 days.
Ooh, what are you going to do?
And I don't know. It's number 21, so it should have been exciting, but we'll have to see
Yeah.
what's even available these days. But either way, I mean, it's one of those things where I was 7. It was God. It was a very different time, but at the same time, it's diabetes still. You still got to deal with it, and I don't think people when you're that little you really understand it, so you don't really care the way you probably need to. But also your parents are, if you like, ideally you have a situation where your parents care, they're kind of picking up the slack until you're at the point where you're on your own and you say, great, now this is my responsibility.
Yeah.
So that transition, that handoff of the baton, I would think happens either during late high school or early college. And for me, it kind of felt like it was early college when, okay, I'm on my own. I'm having a summer class. Like I'm working. I'm doing all these things. Like I have a car. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that level where it's like, you're on your own, making your own money, doing your own thing. This is now your diabetes. Deal with it.
Yeah. That makes sense. It's crazy.
What about you? When
Oh, I wasn't till I was like 25 I was 25 that I was like, all right, I want to like focus on getting my numbers good and it came with fitness. It wasn't just something that I was like, oh, that would be nice. It was all because I wanted to get to a different level of my fitness. And I was like, well, if I want to do that, then I have to get my blood sugars under control. So
yeah,
that's
I
what,
mean, I feel like with mine, it came with fitness too.
yeah,
Like I feel like a lot of times it's not just like an isolation. I want great blood sugars.
yeah.
It's like, no, I want great blood sugars because I also know second goal.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always like, and I mean, I'm sure some people have that motivation where they're like, just want to be healthy and risk free of complications, but wasn't how, I mean, I was scared of complications, but it wasn't my motivating force that drove me in that direction.
Well, I think like for me, I remember there was someone I had met at a diabetes conference when I was in high school, and I ran into her maybe 3 years later. Because ironically, I mean, I was living up in the Midwest, and I moved to Florida, and she was from Florida, so we linked up maybe like I don't know 3 years after I met her while I was in college, and she came by with her family, and she was already having complications, and she was only a
Mm,
couple years older than me. And I was only 19 years old, and I realized, holy cow, like she's 21, she already can't feel her fingers half the time, and she's already having issues with her sight, and I that really really hit home for
Yeah.
me because you see that and it's like that's someone I know, that's someone that I was friends with, and just a few years ago everything was fine. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's nuts. It reminds me of when I was a teenager because at that age when I was like 14, I just was just so checked out. And my mom would be like, I'm going to take you to the hospital and we're going to go like down the diabetes, whatever complications. And you're going to look at people who have had serious complications because she wanted me to like see a reality check of like, this could be you. But we didn't do
Well,
it.
I feel like you don't get it because not you, but like kids really it's just hard for them to grasp it because there's so many things going on and your scope of life is so limited, but also it feels like, oh, that's 20 years away, that's 30 years away,
Yeah.
and that feels like a lifetime, like an eternity, and suddenly you blink and now you're 25, 28 years old, and that's not such a far-fetched thing if you're not careful,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
which is kind
true.
of crazy.
Yeah. It is crazy. Can you imagine what it would be like to have a kid right or back when you were growing up, when we were growing up, and
Oh,
you would just like not be able to know what like think about our parents. Like we didn't have CGM, so like how did they deal with that? I would be a
I don't
wreck.
know. Well, it's always weird. Like I when I talk with people or I work with people who have a new diagnosis and they say, "Oh, I just got my Dexcom. I've only had diabetes for 3 weeks," and I'm over here thinking, "That's amazing.
Yeah.
I went without a Dexcom for 14 years, and it's just insane to think about you have an A1C of under 7, let's say it's 6.7, and you don't have a Dexcom to help you with that. It's a lot harder to navigate because you don't know. You're just looking at a snapshot in time versus looking at oh, I'm double arrows up or I'm double arrows down, and that makes a massive difference.
Yeah. So cuz back then when you were going into college, you didn't have a CGM, did you?
Nope.
So
I
did you
had a
just
pump, but no CGM.
yeah, did you just go off of like how you were feeling to get your
I
A1C
tested
down?
a ton.
Yeah.
Oh, I tested a ton. I probably tested 15 times a day. No
Yeah.
exaggeration.
Yeah. I've been there too.
Yeah, it's
It's
just well, and I feel like
expensive.
it's very expensive. Thank God these days for one drop, right?
I've never
Because
tried them.
one drop's great because you can get unlimited strips for one flat fee per month,
Huh. That's good to know.
which is amazing. But I mean, that's who I use right now because there's the unlimited strip aspect of it. But no, back in the day when strips were like $1 a pop and you're using 15 a day because it was something insane like that. No, it wasn't a great thing, but my fingers hated me because constantly, you have all those like little mini scabs on like the back sides of
Yeah.
your fingers, like here and
And they
there. Yeah,
turn
it was terrible.
black.
Yep. And it always looks like your hands are dirty, and someone's like, "What's on your hand?" It's like, "Oh, sorry, I pricked myself a million times."
Yeah. I remember going to get my nails done and the lady would be like, "What is wrong with your fingers? Like what is that?" Cuz I would have little black specks like all over.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, I don't miss that at all. These days, like you test like twice in a week, and you're like, "What's wrong? What's wrong? Why did I test twice this week?"
Yeah.
I still recommend people carrying around having a backup meter with them all the time because if something does happen to your Dexcom, you're done for.
Mhm.
But
Totally.
yeah, not an ideal situation to not have a backup.
No. Yeah, that's always the worst. I've definitely been there.
I don't even like when you said back to your question though, I wouldn't even want to think about diabetes like right now having to not right now but back in the day when there was no technology and pumps were way bigger and everything was a lot less sophisticated than it is now. 'Cause, I mean the original Dexcom, I tried it I think when I was in high school and I hated it because the thing was massive, it was huge.
What did it I can't even was that like the 3? Dexcom 3?
Oh God, I don't even know. All I know is the thing was huge and the receiver was bigger than my pump. And I was like, first I have to carry this extra thing around, and second, this other thing I have to wear is massive. And I just remember I was playing baseball. I think I was a sophomore in high school. I was playing baseball, and I remember I slid stealing a base, and it came off. I was like, that's fun. And then the next day, I put a new one in. I went back to practice, and then during practice, we were doing something else, fell off.
Oh,
Next day, put in a new one and it fell off. I'm like, this is getting ridiculous. And I have to carry this massive other thing around. This sucks. Like, I don't want this.
yeah.
But I mean, now I mean, the new one, the 7 that's going to be coming out,
Oh,
that bad boy. I don't know when it's coming out. I saw a prototype of it at Children with Diabetes last year, not this
okay.
year, but
Is it
last year.
slim?
Tiny. It
Oh
is
my.
so skinny. I want to say it's like, might be like 2, 3 millimeters thick. Like, it's tiny.
That's exciting.
I'm super hype, but I don't know in terms of all the accuracy and all that. I'm sure it's great, but it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah. That's
So
because I thought when I switched from because I started with the four, no, I started with the five, and then from the five to the six, I thought that that was pretty good. Like sleek wise, I was like, oh, the six is pretty nice.
yeah, I think the five versus the six, like they're pretty similar. The six is definitely smaller, but it's also longer.
Yeah.
So the other one's a little chunkier. But I mean, at the same time, as long as it works, I don't care.
Yeah, that's true. Um, this where do you okay, this is one question that comes up so much from a dude's perspective, and I just don't even know the answer because I am not a guy. But where do you like how do you where do you put your stuff? Because you don't carry around a purse.
I usually have like a drawstring like Nike
Okay.
bag. So I have one of those. Sometimes if like I'm going to dinner with Amelia or something like that, she'll take my meter
Mm,
and she'll take my backup insulin and put it in her bag that she's carrying
yeah.
because she doesn't want me to carry the drawstring bag, which I mean I can't really blame her. We're going to if we go to a nice restaurant,
Yeah, you're
you don't
wearing
want to
like
have this
a suit and tie.
exactly with like well I don't know if we're gonna go that deep. Come on now. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We bring in like a Nike bag into a nice restaurant. It's probably not a great look, but at the same time, I have done it. I don't have any shame with it because I need to make sure I've got my stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's how I do it sometimes, way back in the day, like going out days, college days. I would just take my stuff in my pocket.
Yeah.
Like I would take my meter, I would take some tabs, put it in my pocket, and that was it. But and that was before Dexcom too, now that I think about it. But you had what you needed, you know, you had your way to test, you had your extra backup if you were low, and if you were high, you knew to dose, you had your pump
Yeah.
on. So it's doable. It's just definitely different. I thought when you meant where do you put your stuff, I thought you meant sites. I was like, oh,
Oh.
it's all about the stomach.
Yeah. No, okay, so you use your stomach for most sites.
I Dexcom's always on my stomach.
Really?
Yeah,
I was putting it on my stomach, but now I've been putting it on my hip because for some reason when I restart it, it just doesn't last. So I've had
interesting.
better result. I think because I have more fat like in that area. I don't know.
That could be. I mean, my stomach, I only put my Dexcom in like the front near my belly button because I don't know where else to put it.
Yeah. Well,
But
you're pretty lean too. Like you
I
don't.
like to think I'm lean
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah, I mean the sites themselves, I used to put my actual pump sites on my sides towards my like low back area,
Yeah.
and that still is the area I tend to hang out in the most. I have done upper butt before. I have done like my low back.
Hmm.
I've never done arms.
For
I've
your
done
pump.
legs. Yeah, for my pump,
Yeah.
I've never done arms. Legs, I did once, and it was horrible because the tube kept pulling.
Oh, okay.
And then Dexcom on my leg, I tried once, and it was so inaccurate that I just took it off. It was off by like 200 points sometimes.
Yeah, I've wondered about the leg because my legs don't like. Uh, even if I do an injection on my leg, I bruise immediately. I get like it's just I don't know.
Yeah, I've had those. I haven't injected my leg in a hot minute. It's great for like sporting events though, when you don't want to deal with your stomach.
Yeah.
You just look down, you're wearing shorts, bloop, you're
Yeah.
good. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really haven't used my arms for anything except when I was on injections for that 7 month pump break. I
Yeah.
used my arms exclusively for injections, and that was glorious until I used them so much that I got scar tissue.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've been
I
using my
thought it was
arms
my
a lot.
tricep growing. I thought it was a growing tricep, and then I found out that it was lipohypertrophy, and I got very disappointed.
How did you find that out? Did you go to the doctor or did you just like feel it?
I just kind of felt it, and then my friend noticed because he hadn't seen me in a while, and he's a RN, and he's gonna be a CDE pretty soon, and he's like, "Do you inject in your arm a lot, Ben?" And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "That's really good scar tissue right there,"
Shit.
and that was when I realized. And well, I also compared my arms, and I was wondering why my left arm seems so much like bigger from a muscle perspective than my right arm. It didn't
Yeah.
make any sense, but then I realized I'm always injecting into my left arm
Hmm.
because I'm a right-handed person, so. Yeah,
So then,
definitely it's interesting.
did it go away after a while or was it?
I don't know. I think it's still there a little bit. I mean, I
Yeah.
probably took, if I was taking probably 5 injections a day for 7 months, it's probably going to take a little while to go away, but it's definitely gotten a little bit better. Because I know scar tissue takes a long time to heal. I've
Yeah.
heard cupping is supposed to help, but I've never
Really?
done it.
I've never done that either.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was going to
I
ask
don't even
you
know what the thing about that.
with cupping.
Yeah,
I was going to
what
ask
were you
you
gonna
if
ask?
if you were still on a pump break or if you're on your pump again.
No, I went back on my pump in the end of March, and then since then I've been pumping for the better and for the worse.
Yeah, that's good. I miss my pump,
So
to be honest.
I know. Well, sometimes it's so convenient where it's like, oh, I want to eat something extra. Here you go. Here's a little
Yeah.
dose instead of, oh God, here we go. But at the same time, you have that frustrating aspect where you take the insulin, you're not sure if it's working right away because it takes forever, versus on the injection, it starts right up,
Yeah.
especially if you do an IM. So that's the perk that you definitely have that I sometimes lack. And then you have the concern, of course, for me, if did the site go in well? Is there
Yeah.
a kinked site?
That was
But
always an issue for me.
yeah, that's always my biggest thing still. Where I think there was a period of time, even back on the pump, where I went through 3 sites in a couple days, which that was frustrating. But again, it's not going to be perfect. Like you're going to hit a blood vessel, you're going to have times where it bruises. It's not going to be perfect, but none of the technology is perfect.
Yeah.
So
Someone needs to invent like a pen that you can do small increments like the pump. Because sometimes I only need like 0.25 of a unit and I can't get that accurate.
interesting. I know the
Yeah.
InPen's got their half units,
Yeah, but like
but 0.25.
what if you need less than that?
I don't know. You have to have like the junior pen, right?
Oh, do they
Because the
have one of
junior pen,
those?
no, I'm making that up. The
Oh.
junior pen's usually the half unit pen,
Yeah.
and then you get the junior pen that's got like the quarter units. I just don't think they will because it seems like that's such a tiny amount of insulin.
It
But
does,
I'm
but
with you 100%.
sometimes that's all I need.
Well, because what if you need like 2.65 units, and then it's
Exactly.
just enough where it's you need more than two and a half, but you also don't need three.
Yeah.
You need that 2.65. It's
It
like,
sounds so dumb, but the older I get, and I don't know if you find this too, the older I get, the more sensitive I am to like treating hypos. Like sometimes all I need is 4 grams of carbs, and that's good. And then also my insulin.
hmm, interesting.
Have
I
you?
don't know if I've noticed that.
No.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I've never really thought about it though.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying.
4 grams for a hypo sounds
Well,
amazing though.
depending on like how low I am and how fast I'm dropping, but sometimes if I'm like, 60, all I need is 4 grams. If I have any more, then I'm going to start going up because it's like I'm not going down super fast. I just need enough to like roll me over.
It gets you up to like 75 and then you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I could see that. I was thinking back to my low earlier when I was eating my Apple Jacks and I was at like
How
30 something grams.
you were 30?
No, I had 30
Oh,
grams
okay.
of carbs. But at the same time, I was 61 with active insulin with a down arrow. So I
Yeah.
mean, it was necessary. Right now, I'm cruising at 111. So like, I think that was a worthy
That was
investment of carbs.
Do you use a food scale?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Always.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the thing with food scales, and this is a dietitian too, that it bothers me is when people are like, I don't have time for that. The reality is, it takes all of 12 seconds to use a food scale.
Yeah.
You turn it on, you put your food on it, you take it off. It doesn't take any longer than portioning it out. You can portion it onto your plate on the scale. It literally takes the same amount of time,
Yeah.
and you get so much extra info.
So much. When the first like 4 months that I was here, I didn't have one, and I've used a food scale for so long that I feel like I'm pretty good at guessing, but still not accurate. So it was so challenging. And then I found a food scale, so I got a food scale. But
That's
it,
huge.
yeah, it's
Well, and
helped.
my favorite is, well, people will say, "Oh, I know how much to eyeball it," and I like to think I'm pretty good, and a lot of times I am. Like I can be like, "This is an ounce of cheese," and I'll measure it, and it will be like 1.02 ounces of cheese or something, you know. But like at the same time, there are people like, "Oh, I can eyeball it," and you get something like peanut butter, and suddenly they think 2 tablespoons. They think it should be 2 tablespoons, and it's five and a half.
Yeah,
That used to be
it's
me all the
so
time.
easy to do.
Oh, for sure, especially things that are fattier. Not that there's anything wrong with foods that are fattier, but you have to be aware that that extra 3 tablespoons could potentially come with another 200 plus calories, and you have to pay attention to that. And if you're trying to lose weight, it's only going to set yourself up for failure.
Yeah, 100%. Speaking of fat, what's your take on keto? Like, do you have a lot of clients that come to you asking about keto?
I'd say probably 20% ask about it or say they want to do it. And my big thing is I'll ask them why they want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, if you don't have a legitimate reason, you just saw an article or you read it or you saw a show or you read something, then that's not a good reason. You need to have an actual reason because you're not going to stick with it now. If you go, oh, I read this book and it was amazing and I really want to try it and I'm really excited, we can try it. And I would say right now, I have probably three people that are very, very low carb.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing great. I don't have a problem with it, but I think you should have a good reason and it needs to be something that's sustainable in your life. The same way somebody says, hey, I want to be completely high carb and all vegetables and fruit and very little fat and very little protein. Like, if you can handle that and do that every single day, by all means, I have no issue with it if that works for you.
Yeah.
But if it's not going to be sustainable, I don't care what you do. You could eat donuts every day, but that's not going to be sustainable for you either.
Yeah.
So you have to find that what is going to be best for you at the end of the day.
Yeah. I agree. Totally. I agree with that. And so
It
many,
can, it's like, yeah, you
no,
go.
you go. Tell me.
I was gonna say it's like you got to make sure can your blood sugars handle it and can you do it every day. And I think if you have a body composition goal, are you optimizing that part of it too? If you can check all three boxes, but and you can do this for more than like a week or two, you can do this for the next 6, 7, 10 years, then you're fine. If you're like, no, I couldn't picture myself doing this 3 years from now, I'd go crazy. Probably not a good idea.
Yeah. And going, so when, in terms of the blood sugar thing, I think that's probably one of the biggest things that people just don't know, right? They've never done it. So they're like, I don't know how it's going to affect my blood sugars. Like, how is it going to affect
Oh
me?
yeah. Well, and a lot of people are like, oh, my blood sugars are great. I'm always cruising at 85, and it's amazing. And then your body starts to catch on. And then in addition to that, if you decide, oh, I need protein, because you know there's a lot of protein involved in keto, then your blood sugar could start creeping upwards, and they're not ready for it. And it basically, if you don't have a plan going in, you don't know what you're doing, it's probably not going to go very well. But that's like it is with anything in life. If you decide you're going to go skydiving and you don't have a plan in place, it's probably not going to go very well for you.
Probably.
So, right. It's the same concept. So have a plan and know what you're doing and have intention behind what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you half-ass it, it's not going to go well. If you put 100%, you whole-ass it, you'll probably be fine.
Yeah. No, that's so true. And it takes time, like consistency. And like some people think, oh, I'll just do it for a few weeks and then it'll be fine. Then I'll be like on a good start. But it's like it takes longer than that to actually figure it out. Or for me, anyways.
Well, for most people, it takes at least like a 2-week adaptation period.
Yeah.
And then you have to really say, okay, is this going to work? Can you stick it out for that first month? Can you stick it out for those first 2 months? Then at that point, okay, this is or isn't going to work for me.
There
This
he
is
is.
adapting move right here.
I was
So
just,
I couldn't get my computer to plug into the surge protector in the same place my computer was before. So I took the microphone, I'm carrying it right now, and I'm sitting on top of the bench we used to bench press. It's pretty grand.
nice. So you're in the gym. Dude,
Yeah, basically.
okay, this if for like everyone listening, this is like the definition of like adapting. Like which is the whole theme of my day and yours too, right? I've
100%. 100%. And my blood sugar threatened to go low during this time as well, but I
oh,
refused to allow it.
after those what was it? Fruit Loops?
No, Apple Jacks. You cannot, how dare you confuse Fruit Loops and Apple Jacks?
After your Apple Jacks even. Okay, I didn't tell. Okay, so we both had lows. I had a rainstorm. Your computer died, and I didn't tell you this, but when you were eating lunch and I was trying to like make sure that I could make it happen on my end, well, first of all, my computer is also broken to the point where like I have to use a mouse, so I can't use my trackpad. And then you know how on your laptop you only have two USBs, like one on either side?
Yep.
Well, the one for my mouse was fine. The one that my mic goes into, that one stopped working. So I had to take a knife and like just fucking do whatever to try to get it working. And I was so like losing my mind, but it worked. So we're good. We're here.
Hey, you made it happen, and that's the biggest thing. Is again, the biggest testament is, can you adapt to what life is going to throw at you? If your blood sugar sucks, can you fix it? If your computer USB port, one of two, decides to go MIA, can you figure out a way to finesse it and fix it? What if it didn't work? You might have had to get like one of those attachment things that look like, I would normally pull this up, but that's what my mic's attached to. There's like a plug-in thing that turns one USB port. It's like a surge protector for USBs, and it
Oh,
turns it into four more.
that, see, I
So
need that, but like I'm sure I could find something like that here, but in a pinch, I don't know.
right, exactly. So I mean, but again, there's always a solution. The question is, are you looking for the solutions, or are you looking for the problems and or something to point a finger at?
Yeah. And when all else fails, just 8 deep breaths in. What is it? One breath in,
No,
hold it
four
for seven.
seconds in, 4 seconds in. So hold it for seven. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now blow out for 8 seconds. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So everything's out of your lungs.
And then we're
And then you're
dead.
supposed to do it again and again and again. And then by that point, your parasympathetic or your fight or flight nervous system is relaxed, and then you're able to take a new approach and a new perspective on everything and think more clearly. Now, granted, if you're in the middle of like a hand-to-hand combat situation, you may not have time for something like that. So you may need to think a little more swiftly and again adapt. But if you have the luxury of doing so, I would highly recommend to clear your brain and get a new perspective on everything going on in front of you.
Yeah. And so much of the pressure is like just shit where we put on ourselves, right? Like,
For sure. It's always, I don't say always, but I would say about 90% of the time it's self-inflicted.
yeah.
You look at it, what could you have actually avoided? Oh, well, I looked at the negative side instead of the positive side. Instead of, oh, snap, there was a rainstorm. What's the positive from that? You gotta, it's how you flip it and how you frame it, and that's gonna dictate diabetes success. It's gonna dictate a lot of success in basically anything. But I feel like a lot of the main principles can be applied to diabetes. And so just changing your mindset, I talk about all the time on Instagram, but changing your mindset, flipping it around is going to be so important when it comes to your diabetes journey and being successful.
Yeah. And especially right now in this time. So
Yeah.
for those people that are like just feeling like they're spiraling out of control, like their diabetes isn't good, their blood sugars, they're stuck at home, they're in the middle, they're basically on house arrest, it feels like. Right? Like what is one
Yeah.
thing that they can do to like just to start feeling better?
Pick one thing that you want to focus on, that you want to improve upon. So maybe in that case, for those people, it might be, hey, I want less variability in my blood sugar. Pick one thing, maybe for example, breakfast. Take a look at breakfast. What are you eating? When are you eating it? Are you doing everything the way you need to be? Are you pre-bolusing? Are you making sure you're taking your insulin, period? So make sure all of that's in line and just focus on one piece of it before you start trying to tackle the entire diabetes beast. And by breaking it into little chunks, it's going to get you a really, really far way, rather than, again, taking it all on at once and getting overwhelmed and saying, I quit.
That's good. And we should wrap this up because I know we've been talking for over an hour, which is so easy to do because we get carried away. But going back to
Exactly.
keto because that's something that a lot of people ask me, and from your perspective, because you are, you're a dietitian and have more experience in that sense, like what is one thing that you like, one piece of advice you'd give people who want to do keto but aren't sure if it's like a good idea or like are nervous about their blood sugars,
Well, the first thing I would do is consult someone who is a registered dietitian,
which is you.
because exactly, someone who, but in general though, someone, whether it's me or someone else, a registered dietitian that knows diabetes and knows keto, to make sure you are under the auspices and care of someone who can help you, so you're not, holy cow, everything seems so scary. But if you do decide, hey, I want to go ahead and do this, make sure you know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and understand that it's not necessarily going to be as easy as everybody cracks it out to be. It's not going to guarantee you weight loss. And again, take it slow. don't go from your normal diet immediately to keto. Maybe step it down. Take your time. Otherwise, it's going to feel like a massive, massive, massive shift, and you're going to hate your life, and then you're going to stop and quit on it when it could be the best thing for you.
Yeah, that's solid
And
right there.
not saying it is, not saying it is, but it could be the best method for you and your life and your body. It's
Yeah.
truly dependent on you.
Yeah.
Every
So
individual's got their own thing.
if you're someone who loves carbs, but you're like, oh, I really want to lose weight, I think keto's gonna might help me, but I just love carbs so much. Maybe not try it.
You could, I mean, you could try it, but at the same time, like, again, that's why having a dietitian is so key because they can tell you you love carbs, but you also feel like keto might work. What's an in between? What might be another option you can do instead?
Yeah,
So,
totally.
not everything's black and white. Not everything's cut and dried. You can adapt. You can formulate things. It's nothing. There's not one answer for everything. If there was, everyone would be doing it.
Yeah. And out at like for people with type 1, that's like if anyone knows, I feel like we do because it's like we're all of us are affected so differently by different things. So, when it
For
comes to
sure.
diet, it's like around the same the same thing.
Oh, nobody is. No one's. Everyone's got their own fingerprint. Everybody's different in that. Everybody's diabetes is going to be different. So what works for me may not work for you. What works for you may not work for the next person. But it's all about finding what does work best for you and then sticking with that.
Yes. So for people who are like, damn, I really want to work with Ben right now. He sounds like he's so cool. I need his help right now. How can people work with you?
First, I mean, I would say follow on Instagram. I'm at Man of Zeal, so MANOFTZEEL. And on there's gonna be a lot of good stuff just to kind of get a taste of what I'm all about in terms of my philosophies and all that around diabetes and nutrition and exercise. But my website, yourdiabetesinsider.com, there is a coaching application there. It's a few spots left for this. I guess it's August right now. Yeah. So there's a few spots left for this month, and then potentially some more for the next month. So if that's something that does interest you, go on there, apply. We can figure out a time to chat, see if it's a good fit, and then take it from there.
Sounds good. And I'll link to everything in the show notes so people don't have to like whip out a pen and paper while they're driving.
Oh, exactly. No, I appreciate that for real, for real. And I mean,
um,
yeah, any way I can help. And even if people are like, hey, I have a question, hit me up. We can talk.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's so good to see you. Like,
For
I feel
real.
like I haven't seen you for so long, but it's so nice to see you and catch up. And we'll definitely have to do this again sometime. So, thank you for being so flexible today and making it work because I know you're
It's
busy.
all about adapting.
Yes,
It's all about adapting, right?
that's the
So no,
theme for this.
I'm just thankful for the opportunity to be on here and chat and catch up with you and learn about the life down south, literally.
But yeah.
And hopefully one day you'll be back in the US.
Yeah. And maybe one day you'll be visiting me in Costa Rica. We'll see.
That would be glorious. So yeah, just we'll pray for a post-COVID world, right?
Yeah. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds amazing. Thanks so much.
Okay. Bye.